So markets are trading sideways right now. We have been seeing some choppy price action for the weekend, and there is obviously some weekly reports around Bitcoin and around the stock markets that are really going to let us know exactly how the markets are opening up tomorrow on Monday. We have some key news events that are going to be happening this week, which are going to be affecting volatility, guys, and we're anticipating rate cuts and a few other different things around the Fed. So right now, there's a lot of different moving parts. We anticipated that more than likely we're going to be seeing deviations for Bitcoin moving into next week with the 14-day pivot that we were seeing with Killer XBT. But in today's video, I want to walk you through the current price action, a weekly report on currently what happened last week and what to expect moving into next week, and what you should be doing if you're investing in altcoins and crypto. But if you're new to my channel, check out the rest of my content. I keep you guys updated on the day-to-day events, price action on Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, and everything you need to be aware of. In yesterday's video, we covered exactly the aftermath of the week and what everyone was looking at. In today's video, I'm going to pretty much sum all that up and let you know what to expect moving into next week. This is what we do to prepare, guys, and make sure we understand how liquidity is shifting so that you don't get front run and just do not know what's going on. So with all that being said, let's go and jump straight into the price section and what you need to be looking at. So as I said, markets are trading sideways, seeing a little bit of green on the 24-hour, but overall price action around Bitcoin has been super choppy, guys, over the weekend. There's a lot of anticipation on what's going to be happening next for Bitcoin, which in this weekly report we're going to be jumping into. And Dr. Profit, the bear who made a ton of money on the huge liquidation event, is also giving his thought process on the stock markets, Bitcoin, and a few other different things. There's a lot of analysts and traders and also Coles that are also saying that fear is maxed out, leverage is gone, and right now you should be buying altcoins. But if we look at the price action around Bitcoin, everything is currently seeing some sideways pricey action. Everything is just chopping, waiting to see if it has the power to break through previous resistance or if we're going to be deviating more. 110,000, guys, is that region that everyone has been looking at and is honestly wondering if we're going to be able to break out. Now you're looking at the 15-minute window right here. If we're to jump it back into the 4-hour window, you can see a little bit more of what I am talking about in terms of that 110,000 region and previous resistance. So this is going to be super important to see if we can actually break above this. If we don't, more than likely we're going to be seeing more liquidations and obviously more deviations in the market. Now, same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum right now on the 4-hour is currently hitting a specific region where it's testing to see if it's going to be able to break above this area of resistance or if we're going to be deviating even more. Like how everyone's been talking about, everyone's anticipating that ETH is going to be having a run up. Benjamin Cohen has been covering this, which we talked about multiple times, but in due time will we actually see if it's possible. Now the total 3 chart, which is going to show us how altcoins are doing, guys, have been having a slight recovery after the massive deviation event that happened with the liquidation cascade event where everyone got freaking liquidated. But ever since then, we have been seeing upward price action and then downward price action, and we're currently testing specific zones to see if we can break back above or if we're going to be deviating. Now, my perspective on all this, I think people are front running the markets. People are investing into altcoins because, yes, like how Virtual Bacon was talking about, right now everyone is afraid to buy altcoins, which is why it's the best time to be buying altcoins. But right now, we could be seeing more deviations, especially with Bitcoin dominance on the rise, getting squeezed. Look at that squeeze that's taking place on Bitcoin dominance. It's just squeezing, ranging, and honestly, more than likely going to be shooting back to that 60% region. But only in due time, guys, will we actually see what's going to be happening. But just understand that there's a lot of sideways price action. Now, Kobesi letter gives us exactly the key news events that happen each week. And this is super important because last week we saw Jerome Powell speaking. We saw Trump announce 100% tariffs on China. This had a huge effect on the markets. And this is why global economic events, while they might not completely, dictate the markets, they are a catalyst event. And you need to understand whenever reporting comes out, specific, talks or even valuations around specific sectors has a huge effect on price action. So right now, key events this week, 10% of S&P 500 companies report earnings. So if we see strong earnings, guys, more than likely stock markets are going to be seeing a little bit of a pump. But if we see weak earnings, it's not going to be looking good. Wednesday, U.S. crude oil inventory data. Oil is not looking too good in the United States in terms of those prices ranging up and down. So that's going to be having an effect on volatility. September existing home sales data on Thursday. Again, important. And then probably the most important data, September CPI inflation data on Friday, and the October services PMI data on Friday. Also, the October MI consumer sentiment data on Friday as well. We are now 1 week out from Fed week. which is whenever we start to see rate cuts and everything else take place. So this is going to be having a huge effect on volatility, guys, because if inflation isn't looking good, people are going to freak out and start selling their bags, especially people in the stock market, which is going to be having an effect on the crypto market. So just understand the key news events that are happening and what to expect moving into the week. Now, jumping more into the perspectives around the price action around Bitcoin and what we currently been seeing, KillXBT gave a great weekly report on exactly what he is seeing for Bitcoin and what he's anticipating and what he is currently looking at. He says, Bitcoin weekly report, it's time again where we break down the entire market structure on the high time frame and analyze objectively the areas which hold high confluence and exactly where we're going to be headed, the direction, all that good stuff. Now, let's review what happened last week. Bitcoin opened the week high Monday and Tuesday, consolidated above the monthly and quarterly opens, and then had a midweek reversal back down to 103K, sweeping the previous dump wick lows. Based on this information, we can suggest that the market is in a downtrend on the low time frame, and this is now presenting signs of weakness of the high time frame. We have lost the local trend line and rejected the 0.5-0.618 retracement around 115K, also near the quarterly open. Also, all this indicates these sellers are in control. And this is, Fibonacci sequences, guys, ranges where we're headed and more likely where price action should move. And if we break down below specific zones, then we're going to be seeing deviations and, who's in control, bears or bulls. In order to see any retest toward the upside, buyers need to step in and gain control around the 107 to 108K region, which is what we're talking about, moving past 110K. Otherwise, we are heading directly below 100K. It's important to understand that shorts are risky within this lower range, but still favorable in terms of the overall trend direction. And the reason for that is because people are front running the markets. They're throwing all their money, so everyone's longing. And in order for you to actually short properly, you got to have more liquidity in shorts than longs. But right now it's very, sketchy because we're seeing that price action just jump sideways. On the other hand, objectively speaking, we have swept the previous wick low, which could lead to some relief. Our last relief rally pushed us from 103K to 115.5K, where this created a lower high. If we resume the downtrend, the next relief rally would likely target 109.5K to 111K though. That is only valid above the 107K lows. Overall, market structure remains bearish. You need to wait for a reclaim of 115K before flipping bullish on the high time frame. Failing to reclaim that level, the broader trend direction continues to point rather than up. So at the end of the day, guys, we still have a lot of sideways price action, and where we're sitting, we don't have full confirmation. That 107 to 108K thousand region is going to let us know if we're going to be breaking above, and that 115,000 zone is letting us know exactly if that high time frame is starting to look bullish again. Until we can break that zone, it is not looking bullish, and this is why we're anticipating more sideways price action and potential deviations with Bitcoin. If we don't hold those ranges, we could potentially be going lower than 100,000, which we've been seeing on the heat map that's where liquidity is actually sitting. So this was a great post, guys. Great weekly report just to let you know exactly what's going on with Bitcoin and what to anticipate moving into next week. Now, Dr. Profit gave a long report on exactly his breakdown of the stock market and Bitcoin and what's to expect. Overall, guys, don't want to read this whole thing to you. You can go follow Dr. Profit and read it yourself. He's pretty much talking about how he's been anticipating that we're already in top area zone, that we're pretty much already there. A lot of assets are already at really good prices. People are moving, liquidity is shifting, and right now we're looking at specific ranges, 115,000, 125,000, to really let us know where Bitcoin is going. We've been seeing massive liquidations across the market, and overall he believes very strongly that Bitcoin has already peaked. He gives a lot more perspective on exactly previous runs, what bulls have been saying, and honestly his perspective around it. And he's talking more about the data and information that's coming out around the Fed that really is going to be having an effect on the markets. He goes on to show exactly his chart, what he's anticipating, where he's putting in his shorts, and honestly what he expects in the market. But one of the things he says at the very end, which is very important, is this is not financial advice but educational content only. All the writing here is his opinion and his own trading and investment strategy. He has been right, guys, about 80 to 90% of the time, which has me to believe that, yeah, we probably are already at the top, but I'm sure Bitcoin is going to be seeing a few more rallies before we just start to see liquidity shift back into Ethereum and altcoin season starts. But a lot of people are getting super bearish, and this is why you need to be anticipating exactly their perspectives, because it has validation. It actually has real information, but he can still be wrong by a certain amount, guys, where Bitcoin starts to peak at around 130,000, 140, and then we see the massive cascade event liquidation, and then we start to see liquidity shift. But no one truly knows, and this is why everyone is already trying to front run, shorting the market and longing the market, which is causing all the volatility. But all you need to know, guys, is that everyone is pretty bearish. Everyone is super bearish based off of how the stock market has been performing, the US markets, the government shutdown that is taking place, and already that the Fed week is going to be happening in 1 week. So this is super important, and just understand that there's a lot of bearish perspectives, mainly bearish perspectives out there. Now, overall, Virtual Bacon gives his perspective on the markets, and we talked about this yesterday on exactly how nothing is really making sense in the markets. The price action's not making sense, the sentiment's not making sense, nothing really is making sense. And usually this happens right before the huge pump up in the markets. We've seen this in every other cycle, and he goes on to talk about it as well. He says, fear is maxed out, leverage is gone, and sentiment's dead. That's not the end of a bull run, that's the reset before the next one. Make it count. And he pretty much is following up on this based off of how he says everyone is afraid to buy altcoins, and that's his buy signal. Last week's flash crash nuked the entire market. Today, Bitcoin is struggling around 105K. Fear is back at cycle highs. So is the bull run over, or is the shakeout before is this a shakeout before the next move? Goes on to say that he really believes it's a shakeout before the next move. Why? He gives multiple correlations around the price action around gold and a few other assets in the markets, how inflation data is looking, and what everyone is expecting. Whenever we start to see deviations like what we're seeing with Bitcoin and how long it's been running, the 4-year cycle, and all these things that come into play, everyone starts to think that the top is here, and they start screaming, the top is here, the top is here, the top is here. Now, is the top actually here? We won't know, guys, until we get to the end of the year, wrapping up 2025, moving into 2026, how the Fed is going to be having an effect on the markets, and how everyone is allocating. So right now, everyone is saying to buy altcoins right now, why a lot of people are super, super bearish. Now, if we look at the crypto markets, yes, everything is trading sideways. Everything is, sideways, choppy price action. But right now is one of the best times to be allocating to altcoins. You could see my portfolio on the 7-day, it says only down 6.5%. But a lot of these assets are down significantly, guys. Down anywhere from, 60 to 80%. Condex was sitting at around 18 cents. HashAI was sitting at around 0.003. That's over, a 12x multiple on Condex. That's over a 12x multiple. Destra sitting at 8 cents was sitting at around 50, 60 cents. Just a Chill Guy was sitting at, Just a Chill Guy is a meme coin. You probably shouldn't be buying this coin, but this coin was sitting at around 70 cents. It's sitting at 2 cents. You can do the math, guys, on these 15x, 20x, 30x, 40x potentials. But if you're not willing to invest into altcoins when everything is down in the dumps, you can't expect to get a crazy X potential. That's just not how the game works. Now, overall, markets are trading sideways. Everything is just deviating, and we're starting to see a little bit of green in the markets, but overall on that high time frame, everything is still looking max bearish. Until we claim 115,000 with Bitcoin, more than likely we're still going to be seeing deviations, and we're still in a bearish kind of mindset. There's some key news events that are going to be happening this week, which is going to be causing an effect on volatility, which is super, super important. And I try to keep you guys updated with all these events and the price action so that you can understand how to position yourself and know what's happening next week. Now, if you're new to my channel, check out the rest of my content. As I said, I keep you updated on the day-to-day events, price action around Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, and how you need to position yourself around the markets. This is a really big week because this is 1 week out from Fed week, whenever rate cuts are going to be determined. And I know this is going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. I've covered it multiple different times, but we're just going to be covering it all over again. Expect sideways price action. I'm sure we're going to open up the markets a little bit of green, but closing out the week, especially with that inflation data that's coming out, if it doesn't look too hot, we're going to be closing red. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, drop them down below. I like to hear everyone's perspective, where they're at on their journey, what they think of the content, and exactly how to anticipate what's next. If you guys have any questions or anything, drop it down below. I'll love to answer your questions and see exactly how I can offer more information. But other than that, I drop day-to-day content every day, so stay tuned, and hopefully I catch you guys tomorrow once the markets open. Expect volatility, do not capitulate your bags, and hopefully I see you tomorrow. Peace.